Hey, I'm Sammyboy Anderson, and I'm 18 years old, and I'm a Dota player.
How long have you been playing Dota for?
I've been playing Dota since around, I'd say TI3, right about when TI3 ended.
Why Dota?
Dota was just a way to be competitive when I'm not playing sports, when I'm not playing, basketball, whatever it is, Dota's like, I think the most competitive, or most, skillful competitive game, in my opinion, and it just kind of drives me to be better, and it's really fun, and I love it, and I love playing, so.
What originally got you into Dota?
I honestly don't know. I was kind of just looking through Steam, like for games to play in my downtime, and I saw Dota, and I saw it was, at that point, I think you needed like a beta key, and one of my friends had a beta key at the time, gave it to me, and I activated it and started playing, and I just got, I guess you could say addicted. Probably should say addicted.
At what point did you feel like you were getting pretty good at the game and you felt like, or like you saw, like obviously you saw esports, you saw, TI3 probably.
Yeah.
That's what, TI3 is what motivated me to start playing. What inspired you to be like, hey, I want to make this into a career?
I think that around after TI5, after watching Sumail, was probably when I was like, okay, like I wanna do that, like I wanna play. And then at that point, I think I was still pretty bad. 6K, whatever, but bad in game knowledge and stuff like that. So it probably wasn't until around after maybe a little before TI7 when I thought I was like good enough to actually at least compete with the top teams or the top players or whatever those were.
What teams have you played on so far?
I played on Team Leviathan with, of course, BSJ, and then I played on Team USA with Mike and Slayer and those guys. And then besides that, I've just played on stacks and, whatever stacks happen to be in NA, Sogumits, Backstabbers, whatever.
What role are you currently playing?
I'm currently playing mid or sometimes carry. I think they're kind of interchangeable now, but mostly mid.
So you've played at one LAN?
I've played at 2 LANs. I went to a LAN called Battle of the Strip in Vegas. I think Snaking's team was there back in the day, probably like 2016, and then most recently WESG in China a couple months ago.
So far, through your career of Dota, what's been your most memorable moment?
My most memorable moment, or moments, I think I have 2. First one would be at TI7, and this is kind of, I guess, cringeworthy, but I think I made a comment on Reddit that I could beat Ortiz in a 1v1 SF. And I think I got around 100 downvotes, and then I got the chance to play him at TI7, and I won, probably due to luck, due to some shenanigans. But I was just like, after winning, I was just like, I just wanted to go comment on Reddit and be like, thanks for downvoting me, guys, like, come on. And then also, I think, while we were in China, playing against either VP, VP was really memorable, getting to just play against them and getting to take a game off them, and then also playing a versus Alliance, because I watched Loda and Ake play at TI3 and win TI3, and getting to play against them on the main stage was really cool, and they were super awesome too, so getting to play against them and beat them was super cool for me, personally.
What are some hurdles that you think are preventing you from taking it to the next level?
I think the hurdles some of the hurdles that kind of, I don't want to say prevent, but make it harder to become like a tier 1 player or whatever it is, are first time commitment. Previously I was going to school for 8-9 hours a day, and especially with the scrimming schedule in North America, where you're scrimming generally starting at 12 p.m. or whatever it is, it became really hard to get scrims and stuff like that, and it made it really difficult to play. And then I think the other part of it is just be able to commit the time and find the right teammates to group together, boot camp, be together, and improve together is really important, and sticking together, and that's hard to find in the NA scene.
I know, because the NA and the EU scene have been so, I guess they're pretty close, right?
Yeah.
I know, at least in my experience, we always have to scrim. NA ends up running on a day schedule, whereas the Europeans, they all get to play at night.
Yeah.
We end up a lot of times we end up playing against Europeans on times that are more favorable for them. So as an American, we can't really go to school or work during the day because that's when practice time is.
Yeah, absolutely, and it makes it really hard. Like I said, I'm not on the Tier 1 team, so I don't know the practice schedule. But when we were scrimming, we're scrimming optic, EG, whatever, for 4 hours each day. We have to take those scrims no matter what time they ask for, right? Like, we have to take them because we're the team that is worse than them, and we're kind of asking them for scrims. So if they say they want to scrim at 11 a.m. in the morning, it's like, okay, well, we're gonna be there, no matter what, even if we have jobs, even if we have school, whatever, we have to make it for those scrims. And so it leads to, at least for me when I was in school, I would end up just skipping school to come play scrims or come play tournaments, matches, whatever. And that you can do that with school because I was lucky I was a high schooler, but you can't really do that with a job. And so it becomes a lot more difficult to play.
Cool. So we have the announcement of the NADCL, and what were your initial reactions or thoughts?
My initial thoughts on NADCL was that, at least in my opinion, it would really help grow the Tier 2 scene and make the Tier 2 scene more sustainable. I've heard a lot of arguments that say, the Tier 2 scene should, if they can't win, if they can't make it to the top, then they don't deserve prize money and they don't deserve this. And on one extent, I do kind of agree with it, with that sentiment. But on the other hand, I think, having a league like this that provides some prize money to those Tier 2 teams enables them to maybe commit more time to playing Dota and commit more time to being better, and will overall help the scene improve and help all these players improve, and hopefully maybe get some good teams out of it as well.
Who are you most excited to see in this league or play with? Who would be the most ideal teammate at this point you would like to play with?
For ideal teammates, the most ideal teammate for me is probably someone that I've played with before and that I know. Mike is honestly one of the best teammates I've ever had. Mike gets a lot of crap on Reddit all the time, but he's a really awesome guy. He's really cool to team with. Someone like him, he's not on a pro team right now, but it'd be awesome to team with him, or some of the more up and coming NA players. It would just be cool to team with him. Gunner is another good example, who I think is really talented, and I'd love to play with him too sometime.
What are your favorite heroes of the current patch?
My favorite heroes of the current patch are probably Ember Spirit, and I think I still really like playing Terrorblade. I think he's underrated, as well as a little bit of Storm Spirit still. Although those are kind of just my favorite heroes of all time. I'm lucky that Ember is good in this patch.
Who are you most fearful to play, or who do you think would give you? Are there any teams or stacks out there that you're worried are going to dominate the league?
Similar to how I said, I think I really wanted a team with Mike. I think whatever team Mike's on will be really good. I think he has really good ideas about the game. I also think whatever team gets, like I said, I already mentioned Gunner. I think Gunner's a really talented player, and he's going to be really good. He's going to be really scary just having to play against him, go mid. He's a really good player. And along with that, I think Bleak and Boris and KVH are always solid players and really strong players that are, whenever they make a stack, it's always a strong stack. So be careful for them.
So you're kind of you're more of the new blood of Dota?
Something like that,
right?
Yeah.
You're a young guy, 18. Yeah. You talked about Ryle being new blood as well, young 16. Then you have Gunner, who's 18 or 19 as well. Do you think that this league will potentially bring back some of the older players? And are you worried about facing off against them, such as your JOs, your TCs, Fluff?
I hope to see Fluff. I love Fluff. He's an awesome guy. I hope to see JO, TC. I want all those guys back. I think a lot of them are really talented in how they think about Dota. And I don't want to say that the young blood is all mid players that try to out mechanically skill people. But I think the older guys have a lot of game knowledge and a lot of better game sense than some of the younger guys. And even though the younger guys are maybe more talented mechanically or more talented farming, whatever they want to do, but I think the old guys have a lot of I don't even want to call them old guys because they're not that old, but they have a lot of knowledge and they're really good and they're scary to play against. Fluff, playing as Fluff's Chen is the worst experience of my life, so it's not fun at all.
They still got some things to offer, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the old guys definitely still got some things to offer.
What are you looking forward to for the next 2019 Dota season with NADCL and then also DPC?
I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting a team together to win NADCL, and along with that, hopefully after that, maybe try to boot camp. I'd love to be able to boot camp with some guys and hopefully make a minor after that. Kind of use you know, the NADCL season and the NADCL prize money to maybe fund some sort of boot camp. That way I can, you know, work hard and try to make a minor and try to start making tournaments and then try to get sponsors. It's kind of the game plan. Make TI9.
Any advice you could give to any players up and coming that quite haven't made it to where they want to be, and what kind of advice would you give them to make it to where you are now?
Yeah, like I mean, you're not like at a professional level yet, but like, you know, there's even people that, you know, are obviously worse than you. What advice do you have for them?
So I don't want to like name specific people or something. That'd be kind of weird. But I see it. I mean, can I?
You could. I mean, I think. I mean, you can. We're not gonna put everything in.
Okay.
But you can talk about like why do you think that you're sitting here now?
Yeah. Okay. So there's like, I mean, there's a lot of like young players in the NA scene that are, you know, hover from anywhere. I guess MMR is weird, but you know, 6K to 7K, somewhere between there, and they can be really good players. Like, to name a few, like there's guys like Anthony Manamedana, who's like a 17, 18-year-old mid player, who's like, you know, the same age as like me, Gunnar, all these other players, but I think struggles at a lot of like certain game aspects that if he would just, or like some of these players would just take the time to like ask people like, hey, like what makes this good? Like, hey, what makes this good? Like, one of the like key things for me for getting better was asking, like realizing that like as a mid player, I don't really know a lot about the game regarding, you know, what my supports want to do and what, you know, the enemy supports want to do, and just asking my teammates at the time, you know, asking Nusham a lot about, hey, like, you know, when do you think he's gonna gank me? Like, when do you think like this is gonna happen? Or like even asking, you know, I played with Mike, like I would ask Mike like all these questions about the game, like, hey, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think when I go push this tower at this time? And just really like maximizing, you know, when I do things and maximizing, you know, how effective I am at doing them by asking people that, you know, I think are really good, or asking players that are better than me, you know, what they think about what I'm doing and what I could do to, you know, improve. Ritsu's another good example. Like, I asked Ritsu a lot when I was playing carry for around a month or two. I pretty much asked Ritsu, like, or, you know, Mike asked Ritsu too for me. He was like, you know, why do you do this? You know, because Ritsu does this thing where he would, you know, it's pretty common now, but you always TP to the enemy safe lane tower at like 7 to 10 minutes, somewhere between there or later than there. Take the enemy safe lane tower, and I was just asking Ritsu, like, what makes this good? When do you want to do this? Like, why do you want to do it? And just trying to learn as much as I can from someone like that who's, in my opinion, a really good carry player. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out NADCL, and make sure to watch the games. You'll see some really exciting NA Dota. As much as NA Dota is a meme, it'll be really cool. It'll be really fun, and so come along and watch.